Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension, a troubling precedent for Nigerian politics. The recent suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan by the Senate has ignited fierce waves of criticism across Nigeria, highlighting the alarming state of political affairs and women's representation in governance. As the Women Affairs Minister Imaan Sulaiman-Ibrahim attempts to broker peace and address the underlying issues, the reactions echo the sentiment that transcend party lines. This decision is an ominous sign for political landscape of Nigeria. I am Edison, welcoming you to Naija Anchor News, your trusted source for latest updates and insightful analysis on affairs shaping Nigeria today. The event leading to Akpoti-Uduaghan's suspension raises serious concerns about the process and fairness in democratic institutions. Critics, including People's Democratic Party and civil rights organizations like ActionAid Nigeria, have labeled it as a desperate attempt to silence women in leadership. Natasha's allegations of harassment against Senate President Godswill Akpabio should have resolved into a thorough investigation, not a swift suspension that raises more questions than answers. Public sentiment suggests that these actions reflect deeper systematic issues in Nigeria's politics, a climate where women are not only underrepresented but also face punitive measures when they dare to speak out. With women making up only 3.6% of the Senate prior to the suspension, reducing their number further to an abysmal 2.7%, sending a chilling message for aspiring female leaders. If women in top political positions are subjected to such treatment, it could deter future generations for pursuing leadership roles altogether. The timing of this suspension, coinciding with International Women's Day, is particularly symbolic of irony at play. Despite claims of promoting gender equality and women's empowerment, actions taken undermine the very foundation of representation and inclusivity. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar remarks resonate well with the public as he emphasized the need for women to be empowered rather than suppressed. Yet the reality is that the suspension has stripped Akpotis of her voice and her constituents of their rightful representation. Moreover, the consequences of the suspension reach beyond gender inequality. They threaten the essence of democracy itself. The Senate decision essentially pushes Kogi Central, a constituency of millions, by denying them their voice in legislative matters, while a critical inquiry into the harassment allegations remain unsolved. This raises significant questions about the balance of power and the integrity of body that should embody the will of the people rather than silencing dissent. Nigerians are not merely outraged. They are concerns about the implications of democratic governance. Many are calling for transparent investigation into the allegations surrounding the Senate President, while demanding the reinstatement of Senator Natasha. The perception that parliamentary process can be manipulated to serve the interests of few is damaging to public trust and may provoke an erosion of democratic ideals. The recent events serve as a reminder of the urgent need for reform in all political functions in Nigeria. To foster a political environment that genuinely values the contribution of women, there must be concerted effort to dismantle systematic barriers that perpetuate inequality. Mentorship programs, economic empowerment initiatives, and strict adherence to ethical standards can empower not just women but reinforce the fabric of governance that serve all Nigerians. ActionAid Nigeria's call for thorough inquiry into not only the allegations of misconduct but the manner in which Senator Natasha was suspended. This situation is not merely a legal battle, it is a litmus test for Nigeria's commitment to democratic ideals, justice, and gender equality. ActionAid Nigeria's call for a thorough inquiry into not only the allegations of misconduct but the manner in which Senator Natasha was suspended should be heeded. This situation is not merely a legal battle, it is a litmus test for Nigerians' commitment for democratic ideals, justice, and gender equality. In the face of this troubling suspension, it is imperative that both the Senate and the broader Nigerian political system reflect on the practices and reform accordingly. The way forward lies not in suppression but in support, not in silencing but in elevating those who are there to lead and represent their communities. Only through these changes can Nigeria hope to build a political future characterized by inclusivity, fairness, and the representation for all its citizens. I believe the recent suspension of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is not just an isolated incident, but a reflection of systematic issues plaguing Nigeria's politics, particularly regarding women's representation and treatment of those who dare to speak against injustice. This action, perceived by many as an attempt to silence female voices in leadership, is alarming and highlights the urgent need for reform within our political institutions. It is essential that we advocate for accountability, transparency, and fair processes, especially in cases involving allegations of harassment and misconduct. If we truly aspire to rebuild democratic society that values inclusivity, we must stand up against actions that undermine the credibility of our governance and deter future generations of women from pursuing leadership roles. And as a Nigerian, what are your views on the recent suspension of Senator Natasha? And how do you think it impacts women's representation in Nigerian politics? Do you believe that Nigerian Senate swift action against Senator Natasha follows due process? And what implications does this have for fair and transparency in our political institutions? In light of the ongoing discussions about gender equality and women's empowerment in Nigeria, what step do you think should be taken to ensure that women are supported and protected in leadership roles? Drop your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to stay tuned to Naija Anchor News for more updates.